The sensor array flickered with impossible readings. Admiral Kelris leaned closer to the display, his three-fingered hand trembling slightly as he traced the numbers scrolling across the screen. Behind him, the command deck of the Eternal Dawn buzzed with confused voices. Officers from 6 different species spoke in hushed tones, trying to make sense of what their instruments were telling them. "That cannot be accurate," said Commander Brellies, her antenna twitching nervously. "Nothing that large could maintain structural integrity in real space." Kelris had commanded fleets for 30 cycles. He had seen war between the Manthari Confederation and the Zelkoth Empire. He had watched planets burn and civilizations fall. In all those years, nothing had prepared him for this moment. His fleet numbered 300 warships, the largest military force ever assembled in this sector of space. They had come to claim the Outer Veil, a region rich with rare minerals and habitable worlds. Intelligence reports suggested only minimal resistance. The humans were new to space travel, barely established beyond their home system. "Verify the readings again," Kelris ordered. His voice carried authority, but doubt crept into his mind. The navigation officer worked quickly, running diagnostics on every sensor system. The same results appeared each time. Something massive occupied the space ahead of them, positioned directly in their projected path. The object measured 8 kilometers from bow to stern. The Eternal Dawn, pride of the Confederation Navy, stretched only 150 meters. "Sir, visual confirmation available," announced the tactical officer. Kelris straightened his posture. Whatever waited ahead, his crew needed to see confidence from their commander. "Display it." The main viewscreen shifted from tactical readouts to visual spectrum. Silence fell across the command deck like a heavy blanket. Even the background hum of life support systems seemed to fade as every eye focused on the screen. The ship hung in the void like a predator waiting for prey. Its hull reflected starlight in strange patterns, angular surfaces creating geometric shadows that seemed to shift and move. Gun batteries lined its flanks, dozens of them, each weapon port large enough to swallow a Confederation frigate. The vessel's design showed no elegance, no artistic consideration. This was pure function, built for one purpose only. "By the ancient waters," whispered Brellies, her usually steady voice cracked. "The humans built that." Kelris felt his mouth go dry. The intelligence reports had mentioned human industrial capacity, noting their tendency to build larger than necessary. But this went beyond excess. This represented a fundamental difference in thinking. Who builds a warship the size of a small moon? "Scan for weapons signatures," he commanded, forcing his thoughts back to tactical considerations. The response came immediately. "Sir, we are detecting energy readings across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Power output exceeds our measurement scales. The ship appears to be operating at minimal capacity, yet it generates more energy than our entire fleet combined." A junior officer raised his head from his station. "Admiral, I am detecting fighter-based signatures. Estimates suggest storage capacity for 400 to 500 small craft." 500 fighters. The Confederation's largest carrier held 30. Kelris did the calculation quickly. This single vessel carried more strike craft than his entire task force, and those were just the small ships. The main batteries remained unmeasured, their potential output beyond current scanning technology. "Open a communication channel," Kelris said. "Perhaps we can negotiate passage rights." "Sir, they are broadcasting already," interrupted the communications officer. "Audio only, using standard galactic trade language." "Play it." A voice filled the command deck. Human voices always sounded strange to Manthari ears, too deep and resonant, but this one carried an edge that made Kelris's skin prickle. "Confederation vessel Eternal Dawn and accompanying fleet. You have entered territorial space claimed by the United Humanity Naval Service. Under the Treaty of New Geneva, any military force exceeding 50 vessels requires advance notification and permission for transit. You currently have neither. State your intentions." Kelris glanced at his legal advisor, a thin Vrelian named Gorath. The advisor's face showed confusion. "Sir, there is no Treaty of New Geneva in any galactic database. This appears to be an internal human regulation they are applying to foreign powers. They are making up rules and expecting us to follow them." Brelly sounded indignant. But Kelris understood. The humans were establishing precedent. They were claiming authority in this region of space and daring anyone to challenge it. His fleet had overwhelming numerical superiority, 300 ships against one. In any conventional engagement, the outcome would be certain. Yet something about that massive vessel made him hesitate. "Admiral, several captains are requesting permission to break formation and engage," reported the tactical officer. "Captain Threll of the Hammer Brigade is particularly insistent." Kelris knew Threll. The Zelkoth captain had earned his reputation through aggression and victory. He commanded 6 heavy destroyers, enough firepower to level a city. But would it be enough against that thing? "Negative. All ships maintain current formation and heading. Reduce speed to 1/4 thrust." "Sir," Brelly stepped closer, lowering her voice. "The fleet is watching. If we show weakness here, our authority across the Confederation will be questioned. And if we attack and lose, there will be no authority left to question." Kelris kept his eyes on the human ship. "Send a response. Tell them we are on a peaceful survey mission and we're unaware of their territorial claims. Request permission for dialogue." As the communications officer relayed the message, Kelris studied the view screen. The human vessel had not moved since they arrived. It simply waited, patient and implacable. He thought about the reports of human history, tales of a violent world where survival meant constant warfare. They had spent thousands of years fighting each other before reaching the stars. What kind of weapons had they developed in all that time? The response came faster than expected. "You have 10 minutes to withdraw from this region. After that time expires, we will consider your presence an act of war. This is your only warning." 10 minutes. Kelris looked at his fleet, 300 ships representing the might of a civilization spanning 47 star systems. Then he looked at the human titan, alone but supremely confident. He had 10 minutes to make a choice that would define the future of the Confederation. Captain Daniel Reed watched the tactical display with calm eyes. 12,000 crew members worked throughout the Goliath, maintaining systems that could vaporize entire fleets. Behind him, his executive officer Lieutenant Sarah Park monitored the countdown timer. 9 minutes and 30 seconds remained. "Sir, the Confederation fleet is holding position," Park reported. "No weapons lock detected. They appear to be discussing their options." Reed nodded slowly. He had studied the Manthari for months, learning their culture and military doctrine. They valued honor above all else. Retreating from a smaller force would humiliate them, but attacking blindly would be suicide. The admiral commanding that fleet was likely trapped between pride and survival instinct. "Communications. Broadcast our sensor data to the Confederation flagship. Let them see exactly what they are facing." The communications officer, a young man named Andrews, hesitated. "Sir, that violates standard operational security protocols." "Execute the order, Lieutenant." Data packets streamed across the void, reaching the eternal dawn in seconds. Reed imagined the alien admiral reviewing the information. Power output specifications, weapons inventory, armor thickness measurements, shield capacity ratings. Everything laid bare. He wanted no misunderstandings. The Manthari needed to make an informed decision. "Sir, why show them our capabilities?" Park asked quietly. "We could maintain the advantage of uncertainty." Reed turned to face her. "Because scared people make desperate choices. I want them to understand the situation clearly. Fear of the unknown leads to panic. Knowledge leads to rational thinking." 8 minutes remained. Tactical status of their fleet composition. The tactical officer studied his screens. 140 destroyers, 80 cruisers, 60 frigates, 20 carriers. Standard Confederation battle formation, three-layer defensive sphere. Their flagship sits in the center, protected by overlapping shield matrices. Reed did the calculations mentally. Against conventional opponents, that fleet could conquer entire systems. The Manthari had put everything into this operation. If they retreated now, their political structure might collapse. Military leaders would demand answers. How could 300 ships flee from one? "Sir, detecting energy fluctuations in their fleet," warned the tactical officer. "3 destroyers are powering weapons." Reed leaned forward. "Identify them." "Zelkoth Hammer Brigade, forward position. They are breaking formation." Park's fingers flew across her console. "They have not received authorization from the flagship. This appears to be an independent action." Reed's jaw tightened. Rogue elements. Every military commander's nightmare. One hothead could turn a standoff into a massacre. He opened a channel directly to the weapons department. "Weapons, this is the captain. Go to automated defense mode. Target only hostile vessels that fire first. Do not engage ships that maintain position." "Aye, sir. Automated systems online." 7 minutes. The 3 Zelkoth destroyers accelerated toward the Goliath. Their plasma cannons began charging, energy signatures flaring bright on the sensors. Reed could imagine the crews aboard those ships, convinced their bravery would inspire the fleet. They probably thought humans were bluffing, that the Titan was just an empty shell designed to intimidate. Distance to hostile vessels: 40,000 kilometers and closing. Weapons range in 90 seconds. Reed stood motionless, hands clasped behind his back. Park glanced at him nervously. "Sir, should we broadcast another warning?" No, they made their choice. The destroyers opened fire at maximum range. 43 plasma bolts streaked through space, superheated matter contained in magnetic fields. Each shot carried enough energy to crack a mountain. The Confederation had perfected plasma weapons over centuries, making them reliable and devastating. The Goliath's point defense grid activated instantly. 2,000 laser turrets tracked incoming fire, computers calculating trajectories in microseconds. Beams of coherent light intersected every plasma bolt, flash vaporizing the magnetic containment fields. The plasma dispersed harmlessly, spreading into diffuse clouds that posed no threat. "All incoming fire neutralized," reported the tactical officer. "0 hits on our hull." The 3 destroyers continued their approach, firing continuously. The Goliath's defenses responded with mechanical precision. Not a single shot penetrated the protective screen. It was like watching insects attack a mountain. Reed opened a fleet-wide channel. "Confederation vessels, your attack has failed. You have 6 minutes to withdraw. I do not wish to demonstrate our offensive capabilities." No response came from the destroyers. They pushed forward, closing to 30,000 kilometers. Their captains were committed now, too deep to turn back without facing court-martial. Reed understood the psychology. They would rather die fighting than live with dishonor. "Weapons, target the lead destroyer. 1 railgun, 1 shot, disable only." The weapons officer acknowledged. Deep within the Goliath's hull, magnetic accelerators powered up. A single tungsten carbide projectile, 2 meters long and weighing 5 tons, slid into launch position. The railgun charged, drawing power from fusion reactors that could light a city. Firing. The projectile left the barrel at 30% light speed. It covered 30,000 kilometers in 0.3 of a second. No shield could stop it. No armor could deflect it. The kinetic energy of impact exceeded anything the Confederation had experienced in warfare. The lead destroyer simply ceased to exist. The projectile passed through the ship like it was made of paper. Superheated metal and flash-vaporized crew created a brief fireball, Then nothing remained but expanding gas and debris. 5 minutes. The shockwave from the impact hit the other two destroyers. Their shields collapsed instantly. Hull plating buckled. Internal bulkheads failed. Atmosphere vented into space through dozens of breaches. Neither ship exploded, but both went dark, power systems dead, crews struggling to survive in emergency conditions. Reed's voice cut through the silence on the Confederation command channel. 3 ships disabled in 4 seconds. I have not yet fired our main weapons. Admiral Kelris, you have 5 minutes. Choose wisely. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, Kelris stared at the tactical display. 3 ships gone. The human Titan had not even moved. Its weapons barely registered the power drain, and that was just one railgun. The ship mounted 16 of them. His communications officer spoke quietly. "Sir, we are receiving surrender signals from 60% of our fleet. Many captains are requesting immediate withdrawal." Kelris closed his eyes. 30 cycles of service, a lifetime of victory, all ending here. But ending meant survival. Pride meant death. He opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships execute emergency withdrawal, maximum speed, abandon standard formation. The Confederation armada scattered like frightened birds. Debris tumbled through the void, pieces of the destroyed destroyer spinning in endless rotation. Lieutenant Park marked the 2 damaged ships on the tactical display, their power signatures fading as secondary systems failed. The Confederation fleet accelerated away, ships breaking formation in their haste to escape. Reed studied the damage reports from the automated scans. Both disabled vessels had hull breaches across multiple sections. Life support was failing. Emergency beacons broadcast distress signals in a dozen languages. Crews aboard those ships faced death by suffocation or freezing, trapped in disabled hulls that could not reach safe harbor. Tactical, project their survival time. The officer ran calculations. At current deterioration rates, complete life support failure in 40 minutes. Structural integrity will hold, but the crews will not survive without assistance. Reed rubbed his jaw, feeling the stubble of a missed shave. Behind him, Lieutenant Park cleared her throat. "Sir, the Confederation fleet is not stopping to assist their damaged ships. They are leaving them behind." "Standard military protocol," Reed said quietly. "In retreat, you do not risk more ships to save the lost. The Admiral is making the logical choice." "So those crews just die?" Reed did not answer immediately. He watched the retreating Confederation vessels grow smaller on the screen. The 2 damaged destroyers floated alone now, abandoned by their allies. Somewhere aboard those wrecks, sapient beings were checking oxygen supplies and calculating their remaining time. "Communications, open a channel to Earth Command." Admiral Patricia Reynolds appeared on the screen, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. She commanded the United Humanity Naval Service from a base on Luna, overseeing all military operations beyond Earth's orbit. Her expression showed no emotion, a practiced neutrality that came from decades of command. "Captain Reed, I have reviewed your engagement report. Well executed. The Confederation will think twice before entering our space again." "Thank you, Admiral. I am requesting permission to render humanitarian assistance to the damaged vessels." Reynolds raised one eyebrow. "Explain." 2 ships are disabled with significant casualties. Their life support is failing. The Confederation fleet has abandoned them. By my estimates, everyone aboard will be dead within the hour unless we intervene. "Captain, those are enemy combatants who attacked your vessel without provocation. You have neutralized the threat. Your mission is complete." Reed knew this argument was coming. He had prepared his response during the 9 years of his naval career, thinking through ethical questions that had no simple answers. "Admiral, we demonstrated our military superiority. The Confederation is retreating. Allowing their crews to die serves no strategic purpose and potentially creates martyrs. However, saving them demonstrates something more important than firepower, which is that humanity can be trusted with power. We have the strongest weapons in known space. If we only use that strength to destroy, we become exactly what other species fear. But if we show restraint and mercy, we change the equation completely. Reynolds leaned back in her chair. You are asking permission to rescue people who just tried to kill you. Yes, Admiral. Silence stretched across the communication link. Reed waited, knowing that Reynolds understood strategic thinking better than anyone in the service. She had commanded fleets during the Mars Rebellion, making impossible choices that saved lives in the long term. She would see the value in his proposal, or she would order him to stand down. How long will rescue operations take? Estimated 4 hours to stabilize both vessels, enough for crew evacuation. Another 6 hours to transport survivors to safe locations. 10 hours total, during which time your ship will be vulnerable if the Confederation returns with reinforcements. Yes, Admiral. Reynolds drummed her fingers on the desk, a habit Reed had seen before when she weighed difficult decisions. Finally, she nodded. Permission granted, but Reed, understand this. If you get my ship damaged because you wanted to play hero, I will personally assign you to chart asteroid fields for the rest of your career. Understood, Admiral. The screen went dark. Reed turned to his crew. All hands prepare for rescue operations. Medical teams to stand by. Engineering, I want repair pods ready to launch in 10 minutes. Park looked at him with something between admiration and confusion. Sir, the crew is going to have questions. We just destroyed their ship, and now we are saving them. Then explain it in simple terms, Lieutenant. We stopped the threat. Now we help the survivors. That is who we are. Within minutes, the Goliath maneuvered alongside the first disabled destroyer. Repair pods launched from the hangar bays, small craft carrying human engineering teams in reinforced suits. Reed watched from the bridge as his people approached the damaged alien vessel. Engineering Team 1 reporting, sir. We have established contact with the destroyer's crew. They are confused but cooperative, beginning hull patching procedures. The human teams worked with practiced efficiency. Plasma cutters sealed breaches. Emergency atmosphere generators pumped breathable air into evacuated sections. Power cells restored basic lighting and heating. The Zelkoth crew watched in amazement as their enemy worked to save them. Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez commanded the first team. Her voice came through clearly on the communication channel. Sir, the Zelkoth are asking why we are helping them. What should I tell them? Reed considered the question. What could he say that would make sense across species boundaries? Tell them that where we come from, you help people in distress, even if they are your enemies, especially if they are your enemies. An hour passed. Both damaged destroyers were stabilized. The surviving crews, over 400 individuals, gathered in sections with working life support. Medical teams identified the seriously injured and prepared them for transport to the Goliath's sick bay. Reed received a communication request from one of the rescued ships. He accepted, and a Zelkoth face appeared on the screen. The alien's facial plates showed stress marks, and his eyes held a mixture of anger and confusion. I am Captain Threll. You destroyed my ship. Yes. You killed 60 of my crew. Yes. Now you save the rest of us. Why? Reed met the alien's gaze directly. Because the killing is over. You attacked us. We defended ourselves, but we do not need to continue killing. Your people need help. We can provide it, so we do. Threll's expression shifted through emotions Reed could not identify. Finally, the alien captain spoke again. You are a strange species, human. We have been told that before. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. The council chamber occupied a massive space station called Haven. positioned at the gravitational center point between 12 major civilizations. Representatives from 40 species filled the circular assembly hall, their voices creating a cacophony of different languages and communication methods. Ambassador Rithin of the Manthari Confederation stood at the central podium. His ceremonial robes looked disheveled, and his usually proud bearing seemed diminished. Behind him, a holographic display showed footage of the Goliath, its massive form dwarfing every known warship. Honored representatives, I present evidence of a new threat to galactic stability. The species known as humanity has constructed weapons of unprecedented scale. What you see is designated a Titan-class battleship. It measures 8 kilometers in length and carries enough firepower to destroy our entire fleet. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several delegates activated their own data tablets, verifying the information. The Vrelian representative, a crystalline being that communicated through light pulses, flashed a question. How many of these titans do the humans possess? Our intelligence suggests 1 completed vessel, with 3 more under construction. The chamber erupted in concerned voices. 4 titans, even divided among humanity's colony worlds, that represented enough force to challenge any single civilization. Together, they could dominate entire sectors of space. The Kryn delegate, a methane-breathing creature in a specialized suit, spoke through a translator device. We must establish diplomatic contact immediately. Perhaps economic sanctions would convince them to halt production. Sanctions? Rithin's laugh carried bitterness. The humans have raw materials from 6 colony worlds and industrial capacity we can barely comprehend. They built their first Titan in 18 months. Our best shipyards need 4 years to complete a heavy cruiser. The council chamber fell silent. The math was simple and terrifying. If humans could build that quickly, no amount of diplomacy would stop them. They would expand, claim territory, and eventually dominate through simple presence. An elderly Manthari in military uniform stepped to the podium beside Rithin. Admiral Kelris wore his defeat like a weight on his shoulders, but his voice remained steady. Honored Council, I commanded the fleet that encountered the human Titan. I offer my testimony. The chamber quieted. Everyone wanted to hear from the admiral who had faced the human ship and survived. Kelris activated his data tablet, projecting tactical recordings from the engagement. The human vessel demonstrated capabilities beyond our weapons classification system. Their defensive grid neutralized 43 plasma cannon shots without sustaining damage. One of their railguns destroyed a destroyer in less than 1 second. The kinetic impact exceeded anything in our military database. He paused, letting the information settle. Then he continued, his voice taking on a different tone. But I must also report something unexpected. After forcing our retreat, the human captain chose to rescue the survivors from the disabled ships. They sent their own crew members into danger to save ours. They provided medical care, repaired our vessels, and gave us coordinates to reach safety. Confused murmurs spread through the chamber. The Vrelian representative flashed rapidly. Why would they save your crew after destroying your ships? I asked their captain the same question. His answer was simple. He said they stopped the threat but saw no reason to continue killing. Their philosophy appears to separate combat necessity from unnecessary cruelty. The Kryn delegate's translator crackled. So they are powerful but not aggressive. Kelris chose his words carefully. They are dangerous but not reckless. They respond to threats with overwhelming force, but they also show restraint. In my judgment, humanity is establishing rules. They demonstrated their strength, then demonstrated their mercy. They want respect, not fear. Can we trust them? Asked a delegate from the Horathi Empire. Can we afford not to? Kelris responded. If we treat them as enemies, they have the power to destroy us. If we approach them as potential allies, we might establish peaceful relations. The choice seems clear. Back on Earth, Captain Reed sat in a conference room at Naval Command Headquarters in Geneva. Through the windows, he could see the Alps rising in the distance, snow-capped peaks gleaming in sunlight. Admiral Reynolds sat across from him, along with 3 civilian government representatives. "Your rescue operation has created political complications," said Minister Chen, a woman responsible for interstellar affairs. "Some council members view it as weakness, others see it as manipulation. No one quite knows how to interpret it." Reed sipped water from a glass. It was neither weakness nor manipulation. It was the right thing to do. "Captain, we appreciate your moral clarity," Reynolds said dryly. "But we need to understand the strategic implications. You have set a precedent. Every future engagement will be judged against this standard." "Good. Let them know that humans fight when necessary but do not kill for pleasure. We are not monsters. We are just very well armed." Minister Chen leaned forward. "The Council is proposing a meeting. They want formal discussions about territorial boundaries, defense agreements, technology sharing. Essentially, they want to know our intentions." "What are our intentions?" Reed asked. The 3 civilians exchanged glances. Finally, Minister Chen spoke. "That is what we are here to determine. We have the power to shape galactic politics for generations. How we use that power matters. Some factions want aggressive expansion. Others prefer defensive positioning. We are seeking input from field commanders like you." Reed thought about the Zelkoth crews he had rescued, the gratitude mixed with confusion in their eyes. He thought about Admiral Kelris, a warrior forced to surrender without firing a shot. He thought about the future, about humanity's place among the stars. "We should protect, not dominate. We built the Titans to prevent war, not start it. If other species see us as protectors rather than conquerors, we gain something more valuable than territory. We gain trust." "Idealistic," Reynolds commented. "Practical," Reed countered. "Fear creates enemies. Trust creates allies. We can enforce peace through strength, but only if others believe we will use that strength fairly." Minister Chen made notes on her tablet. "The Council has formally requested that you attend their session. They want to hear directly from the captain who commanded during first contact." Reed raised his eyebrows. "They want me to speak to the entire Galactic Council." "You started this, Captain. You showed them our weapons and our mercy. Now you need to explain what it means. Can you do that?" Reed looked out the window at the mountains. Somewhere up there, beyond the atmosphere, the Goliath waited in high orbit. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement and greatest responsibility. What they did next would echo through history. "Yes, Minister, I can do that." The Goliath approached Haven Station slowly, its massive bulk requiring careful navigation through the crowded space lanes. Dozens of alien vessels scattered from its path, giving the Titan respectful distance. Reed watched from the bridge as the station grew larger on the viewscreen. Haven looked like a mechanical flower, its 12 docking arms spreading from a central sphere where the council chambers resided. "Sir, we are receiving priority docking instructions," Lieutenant Park reported. "They have cleared Arm 7 exclusively for us. All other traffic has been diverted." Reed nodded. Even Haven's largest docking arm barely accommodated the Goliath's size. Engineers had spent 2 days recalculating structural stress loads and expanding the magnetic clamps. The station administrator had complained that hosting the human ship would require rescheduling hundreds of other vessels, but the council insisted. They wanted humanity's presence felt physically, not just diplomatically. "Take us in slowly, Helm. Let's not break their station on our first diplomatic mission." The docking procedure took 40 minutes. Magnetic clamps locked onto the Goliath's hull with deep metallic groans that resonated through the ship's frame. Pressure seals engaged, creating an atmosphere bridge between the Titan and the station. Reed straightened his uniform, a dark blue outfit with minimal insignia. Admiral Reynolds had been specific in her instructions. Look military but not threatening. Show respect but not subservience. Lieutenant Park accompanied him to the airlock, along with 2 security personnel and a diplomatic aide named Foster who spoke 7 alien languages. The airlock cycled open, revealing a delegation of Haven officials waiting to greet them. At the front stood a Vrelian whose crystalline body pulsed with nervous yellow light. "Captain Reed, welcome to Haven Station. I am Administrator Quellen. The Council awaits your testimony." They walked through corridors filled with aliens of every description. Some stopped to stare at the humans, others quickly moved away. Reed noticed the reactions, the mixture of curiosity and fear. Word of the Goliath's capabilities had spread throughout galactic civilization. These beings looked at him and saw the representative of a species that could destroy their worlds. The council chamber impressed Reed with its scale. The circular room rose 50 meters high, with seating arranged in concentric rings that allowed every delegate to see the central floor. Hundreds of beings filled the seats, their various forms creating a tapestry of biological diversity. The air smelled strange, a mixture of different atmospheric preferences filtered and balanced by sophisticated life support systems. Ambassador Rithin greeted Reed at the entrance. "Captain, thank you for coming. The Council has many questions." "I will answer what I can, Ambassador." Rithin led him to the central platform. A force field surrounded the speaking area, projecting Reed's image and voice to every delegate simultaneously. The chamber quieted as he took position. Hundreds of eyes and other sensory organs focused on him. The council speaker, an ancient Horathi with gray scales and clouded eyes, began the session. "Captain Daniel Reed of United Humanity Naval Service, you stand before the Galactic Council to provide testimony regarding recent military actions in the Outer Veil region. Do you acknowledge the authority of this assembly?" Reed had prepared for this question. "I acknowledge the Council's role as a forum for interspecies communication. However, I do not acknowledge its authority over human territory or military operations. We are willing to discuss, but not to submit to external governance." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Horathi speaker nodded slowly. "A clear position. Then let us discuss. Your vessel destroyed a Manthari destroyer and disabled 2 others. Your species has constructed a weapon that challenges the balance of power maintained for centuries. What are humanity's intentions?" Reed spoke clearly, letting his voice carry confidence without arrogance. "Our intention is to protect human worlds and citizens. We built the Goliath because we learned a hard lesson in our history. Weakness invites aggression. Strength creates respect. We chose to be strong." A Kryn delegate activated a translator. "Strength often leads to expansion. Will humanity seek to claim more territory?" "We will claim what we can defend and develop, just as every species in this chamber has done. We are not unique in that regard." "But your weapons are unique," countered a Manthari delegate. "One ship destroyed 3 of ours. That is not balance, that is dominance." Reed had expected this argument. He gestured to the holographic display, activating data that Foster had prepared. "Let me show you something. This is a map of Earth, our home world. Surface temperature ranges from -70 to +50 degrees. We have storms with winds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, earthquakes that crack continents, volcanoes that block sunlight for years. Earth tried to kill us for millions of years." The display showed disasters, images of hurricanes and tsunamis, volcanic eruptions and asteroid impacts. The council members watched in silence. "We survived by building strong, by developing technology that could withstand any threat. When we reached space, we brought that mindset with us. Yes, our weapons seem excessive to you, but they seem normal to us. We build as if our survival depends on it because on Earth it always did." The Vrelian representative flashed a question. "So you claim your aggressive military development comes from environmental adaptation?" "Exactly. We are not conquerors, we are survivors. There is a difference. An elderly delegate from a species Reed did not recognize spoke in a whistling language that the translators rendered as text. You rescued the Manthari crews. Why? Reed smiled slightly. Because the threat was over, they attacked us. We stopped them. But once they were disabled and helpless, they were no longer enemies. They were just people who needed help. On Earth, we have a saying. You judge a civilization not by how it treats the strong, but by how it treats the weak. Admiral Kelris stood in the Manthari section. Captain Reed, I must ask directly, will humanity respect the territorial claims of existing civilizations, or will your strength lead to conquest? The chamber went absolutely silent. Every being present understood this was the critical question. Reed's answer would shape humanity's relationship with the galactic community for generations. Admiral, I respect you for asking directly. Here is my answer. Humanity seeks three things: security for our worlds, fair treatment in diplomacy, access to resources through honest trade. We will defend ourselves with absolute force if attacked, but we will not initiate conquest. We would rather have allies than subjects. He paused, looking around the chamber. We have enough power to take what we want. We choose not to. That choice defines us more than our weapons do. 6 months passed like water flowing through open fingers. Reed stood on the observation deck of the Goliath, watching the planet Manthara Prime rotate slowly below. The Manthari homeworld looked peaceful from orbit, blue oceans and green continents unmarred by the political tensions that had brought him here. Admiral Kelris had extended a formal invitation for Reed to visit the Confederation capital, an unprecedented gesture that had surprised both governments. Lieutenant Park joined him at the viewport. Sir, the diplomatic shuttle is ready. Ambassador Foster and the security detail are waiting. Reed turned away from the planet. How is the crew handling this assignment? Mixed reactions. Some think we should not be here at all. Others appreciate the irony of parking a Titan over the homeworld of our former enemy. And you, Lieutenant? Park chose her words carefully. I think we are writing history, sir. Whether it is good history or bad history depends on what happens next. The shuttle descended through Manthara Prime's atmosphere, passing through traffic control zones filled with local vessels. Reed noticed how the Manthari ships gave them wide clearance, respect born from fear. The shuttle landed at a government complex near the capital city, a sprawling metropolis of organic architecture that seemed to grow from the landscape rather than being imposed upon it. Kelris waited at the landing pad, wearing civilian robes rather than his military uniform. Behind him stood a small delegation of Manthari officials and one individual that caught Reed's attention, a young Zelkoth officer with distinctive facial markings. Captain Reed, welcome to Manthara Prime. I believe you know Lieutenant Pelrin. Reed recognized the Zelkoth immediately. He had been a junior officer aboard one of the disabled destroyers. Lieutenant, good to see you survived. Pelrin stepped forward, his posture showing formal military respect. Captain, I requested permission to attend this meeting. I wanted to thank you personally. My entire section would have died without your intervention. You are welcome, Lieutenant. How is your crew adjusting? That is complicated, sir. Some hate you for destroying our ship. Others feel grateful for being saved. Most of us feel both things at the same time. Reed appreciated the honesty. That seems reasonable. Kelris led them into the complex, through halls decorated with flowing water sculptures and living plants that responded to movement. They entered a private conference room with a view overlooking the city. Several Manthari council members sat waiting, along with officials from 3 other species. The meeting began with formal protocols, each delegate introducing themselves and stating their governmental authority. Reed listened patiently, understanding that these rituals mattered in alien cultures. Finally, Kelris brought the discussion to its purpose. Captain Reed, We have spent 6 months analyzing your actions and humanity's intentions. We have reached certain conclusions that we wish to share. I am listening, Admiral. Kelris activated a holographic display showing star charts. The Confederation has officially recognized human territorial claims in the Outer Veil region. We will not contest your expansion in that sector. Additionally, we are proposing a mutual defense treaty. Reed raised his eyebrows. You want a military alliance with us? Not exactly. We want an agreement that if either of our civilizations faces external threat, the other will provide assistance. We are also interested in technology exchanges, particularly in defensive systems. A Manthari Council member spoke. Captain, we understand that your Titan ships represent overwhelming force. We cannot match that capability, but we have other strengths. Our biological sciences are advanced. Our medical technology exceeds yours. We can offer knowledge in exchange for protection. Reed leaned back in his chair. This was more than he had expected. The Confederation was not just accepting human presence. They were actively seeking partnership. What changed your perspective? Kelris answered. Several things. First, you could have annihilated my fleet but chose restraint. Second, you saved our crew members despite having no obligation. Third, your testimony before the Galactic Council convinced many that humanity's strength comes with wisdom, but mostly we analyzed the alternatives. Which are? We can treat you as enemies, which guarantees eventual conflict we will lose. We can treat you as neutral parties, which wastes potential opportunities. Or we can treat you as allies, which benefits both civilizations. The logic is clear. Reed thought about Admiral Reynolds and the civilian ministers back on Earth. This offer would generate intense debate. Some factions wanted human isolation, others wanted expansion. An alliance with the Confederation provided a third option, integration into galactic politics through partnership rather than dominance. I will need to consult with my government. This decision exceeds my authority. Of course, we expected that response, but Captain, I want you to understand something. Kelris moved to the window looking out at the city below. My people value honor above all else. We retreated from your ship because we faced certain destruction. That retreat humiliated us, but you gave us something valuable. You showed respect even in victory. You treated our wounded as if they were your own. That matters more than you might realize. Lieutenant Pelrin spoke up. Captain, may I share something I learned? Reed nodded. During the rescue operation, one of your crew members talked to me while repairing our life support. His name was Rodriguez. He told me that on Earth, soldiers have a code. You fight with everything you have, but once the fighting stops, you help the wounded regardless of which side they fought for. He said it is called honor. He said strong people protect weak people because that is what strength is for. Reed smiled slightly. Rodriguez always had been good at explaining human values in simple terms. That is an old tradition, Lieutenant. We do not always live up to it, but we try. The meeting continued for hours, working through details and establishing frameworks for future negotiations. By the time Reed returned to the shuttle, preliminary agreements covered trade routes, communication protocols, and crisis response procedures. Nothing was finalized, but the foundation was laid. As the shuttle climbed back toward orbit, Reed looked down at Manthara Prime. Somewhere in that city, families gathered for evening meals. Children played in parks. Workers returned home after long shifts. Regular beings living regular lives, unaware that their government had just aligned with a species they had feared weeks earlier. The Goliath appeared on the view screen, hanging in space like a guardian. Reed thought about the 3 other Titans under construction in Earth's orbital yards. Weapons of unimaginable power, built by a species that had learned to survive the harshest world in known space. But weapons were just tools. How they were used determined their value. Lieutenant Park, open a channel to Admiral Reynolds. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen. Captain, report. Admiral, I believe we have an opportunity here. The Confederation wants partnership, not confrontation. They are willing to accept human strength in exchange for cooperation. Reynolds studied him for a long moment. You think we should accept? I think we should consider it carefully. We built Titans to prevent war. An alliance might accomplish that goal better than weapons alone. Idealistic thinking, Captain. Practical strategy, Admiral. Fear only lasts until someone decides the risk is worth taking. Respect lasts as long as you earn it. Reynolds almost smiled. Get back to Earth, Reed. The Council wants to hear your assessment in person. This decision is too important to make without full deliberation. The channel closed. Reed settled into the shuttle seat, feeling the weight of what had begun. First contact had not gone as planned. No one had predicted that a standoff would turn into a rescue operation, then into a diplomatic opportunity. But perhaps that unpredictability was humanity's greatest strength. They adapted, improvised, found solutions where others saw only problems. The Goliath grew larger in the viewport. A titan among the stars, powerful beyond measure, but controlled by beings who understood that true strength meant knowing when not to use it.